All right, Biff, I'm back. Hey, Fuss, what's up? Okay. Okay. Well, we can't go to plastic straws because the legislature's stopping that, so.
Six 614-362-2000, 614-362-2000.
Thank you for riding with the Watchdog. Live and local, just the way you like it.
Calls and conversations continue in less than 3 minutes as the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues after this.
Quaker Steak and Lube at the Highlands is the perfect place to relax after a long day. Happy hour from 3 to 6 Monday through Friday. Get $2 off appetizers, $3 off domestic drafts, and house wine specials. Quaker Steak and Lube, voted Best Wings USA. Quaker Steak and Lube at the Highlands with another steal of a deal. Get a steak burger and fries all day Monday for only $8.99. It's also Military Mondays. The Lube will take 25% off for all veterans, active duty military, and first responders. Quaker Steak and Lube, voted Best Wings USA.
My little girl hurt her foot and needed a doctor fast, but her physician wasn't available, and I wanted her seen as soon as possible. Then I remembered the Wheeling Hospital Urgent Care, right in downtown Wheeling at the Stone Center on Market Plaza. Open 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day, the center is ideal if you have a sudden sickness or injury. The doctors and nurses were great, and they also provided x-rays, a pharmacy, and lab draw station. No appointments needed, and convenient parking is nearby. Wheeling Hospital Urgent Care. They'll take good care of you.
Does your dog need groomed or walked? Are you looking for a pet sitter or dog boarding options? If so, call Dirty Paws, Wheeling's newest pet care service, providing the Ohio Valley with everyone's pet care needs. Check us out on Facebook at Dirty Paws WHG or call 304-639-7754.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 want to thank the owners and contractors of the Ohio Valley for using their locally trained workers to help build for the future. Local 83 helps design, fabricate, and build the gas infrastructure for the oil and gas industry here in the Ohio Valley. Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 is 300 members strong and growing. They also do residential, commercial, and industrial work on both sides of the river. For more information, call Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 at 304-233-4445.
Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim Robinson at the Highlands, home of lifetime powertrain protection. Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim Robinson at the Highlands, home of lifetime powertrain protection.
For all of your IT needs, visit.
All right, thank you.
Dog Trusts.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your Wednesday. Mostly cloudy with a few rain showers on and off through the day. High near 51 degrees. Overnight low of 29 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Chance of seeing a scattered shower through the overnight. Otherwise mostly cloudy for your Thursday, but highs in the low 40s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Let's begin.
I'm thinking that today is Wednesday. It's Wednesday. That's your favorite day.
It's starting to get a little weird.
I mean, every time I celebrate hump day,
Things can get a little weird out there.
that's a little weird.
What's so weird about that?
What's so weird about that is
Hump day.
a little weird. You get used to it.
Just a few more days. And it's
This is the weekend.
Okay, let's get started.
Okay, it's showtime!
This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe and Brad Leonard behind the board in the producer's chair.
38 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. 9-mile-an-hour winds makes it feel like 31. Not too bad. 38 at the airport, 38 here at my home studios, the Elm Grove section of Wheeling. 38 degrees at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Throughout the morning this morning, I want to continue to talk about the legislature in West Virginia, the single worst legislative session I can ever remember. The GOP supermajority is ramming everything through they possibly can. The top hits of republicanism, those that have been proven to not work, they were not able to get through on their own. Now they're getting through because they have the numbers. Taking local control away, putting more control in the hands of the state and other politicians. We're talking about issues involving public health and water safety and education, sexuality, even plastic straws are all being controlled in Charleston. And we'll talk about all of that coming up this morning. Governor Justice doubles down in his belief that his emergency powers should not be limited. Why, it would be a real mess if you took power away from me, said the governor. Congressional hearing on the Capitol insurrection yesterday brought out some new information and also some fireworks there. Ithaca, New York is talking about eliminating its police department completely, which I think is a terrible mistake. I believe in rethinking the way we do policing, but Ithaca's mayor wants to get rid of the police department and come up with a civilian-led Department of Community Safety. No offense, but there are times when I want to see the guys with the guns out there. And I know that doesn't sound like a good liberal that I am, but that's what I want to see. And I want to talk about the cracker plant and about fracking and the economic impact of both here in the Upper Ohio Valley. That's coming up in just a moment. Weather-wise, warmest day of the week for sure. Going to be a warm week all week long. We're going to be in the mid to even upper 50s today and roaming around upper 40s to 50-ish throughout most of the week. You might see a little bit of clouds coming in later this afternoon and bringing some rain showers as well. The fracking industry has been part of our Upper Ohio Valley for a decade or so now, and the assumption has been, and the perception has been, that while it may create traffic problems and road problems and dirt and dust and all sorts of things, that economically it has been very, very powerful and positive for the Upper Ohio Valley. And my sense has always been that anecdotally that has been true. But statistically, is it true? What has fracking done for the economy here in the Upper Ohio Valley? The Ohio River Valley Institute has done a study on that and issued a report on the subject called Appalachia's Natural Gas Counties Contributing More to the U.S. Economy and Getting Less in Return. Sean O'Leary is one of their senior researchers. He's here with us this morning. Sean, good morning.
Good morning, Howard.
Drop to the conclusion of this. We'll talk about how we got there and some of the facts, but give me the conclusion. Has the fracking industry been the economic boon to the Upper Ohio Valley that many people claim it to be?
Not at all. Basically, the story, going back to the title that you read, is that you're right. There has been a huge boom in the production of natural gas, and that has translated into huge economic growth, at least as measured by output, gross domestic product. In fact, the valley and, the entire Appalachian natural gas field, which is centered in the Ohio Valley, has grown, the economy has grown at 3 times the rate of the U.S. economy. But at the same time that was happening, when you look at indicators of local economic prosperity, jobs, personal income, and then population ultimately, in jobs there has been almost zero growth in the region. Personal income is a third behind the national average, and population is being lost.
So it's one of those examples that we have in other areas of the economy where you can look at sort of the big picture, if you will, and things look good, but when you zero it down and say, what does it mean to we the people, it doesn't turn out to be so good.
Well, you've probably heard the phrase, the resource curse, before. And what the resource curse means is that there are places in the world, and frankly, it's usually associated with, developing countries in Africa and in other places where great amounts of wealth are being extracted, but it doesn't show up on the ground in the form of local prosperity. Well, sadly, that's what we're seeing throughout the Appalachian fracking region and in the Ohio Valley. The contribution to the economy that the region is making to the U.S. economy has grown by more than a third. But when you look at the share of jobs, the share of personal income, and the share of population, all of those are going down. It's almost a complete disconnect between economic growth as it's conventionally defined by gross domestic product and measures of local prosperity. It simply has not had a job-creating effect. And I'm not talking about not having an effect proportionate to the economic growth. I'm talking about having an effect at all.
But aren't jobs up here in the Upper Ohio Valley? Isn't the fracking industry hiring more people? Don't we have more construction activity going on and more drilling activity going on, et cetera, and maybe not right now because it's a very cyclical kind of thing, but over the decade or so that fracking has been around, has it not been a contributor to the job growth here in the Upper Ohio Valley?
No. Well, first, there's been no job growth in the Upper Ohio Valley. Now, I'm not saying that the fracking companies haven't employed a lot of people, but what I am saying, when you look at it across the entire employment picture, the number of jobs lost has greatly exceeded the number of jobs that have been created by the industry. And of course, the industry was sold to us on its total economic effect when people were calling it a game changer, an economic game changer, and the economic impact studies came out. They emphasized that there would be direct employment, that the fracking companies would hire people, and then there would be indirect, because we'd see a mushrooming of suppliers and support services for the industry, and they would hire people. And then ultimately, all of that economic activity would translate into more jobs and more dollars going into the economy that would go to restaurants and stores and all sorts of other things. And it was that aggregate impact that they told us, at least in West Virginia, would create over 40,000 jobs. And in Ohio, they said the number would be over 200,000. And in fact, when we go back and look at the numbers, and I'm going back a decade when I say this now, when we look at the numbers, when we check the scoreboard, because this report is not an exercise in modeling or inference, It's literally just looking at the government numbers for jobs and the other variables that I mentioned. And there simply has been no net job growth in the valley. And in fact, it has been especially in eastern Ohio, but also in the three counties in the northern panhandle and West Virginia, Ohio, Marshall, and Wetzel. Job growth has been flat or negative.
So we look at job growth, we look at the direct impact on the economy. Tax revenues also, I've always complained that tax revenues haven't seen the benefit of the fracking industry that I think it should. Some of that's structurally because we're not taxing it correctly, but so those things that directly impact we the people the numbers are not showing there. But there was a group of folks got together this week over in Hannibal, Ohio. I don't know if you saw this story or not, Sean.
Yes, I did.
In response to the report that you guys put out, a group of public officials met to discuss what they called the benefits of the oil and gas industry. Quoting from the article here, more than a dozen local officials and representatives from Monroe, Harrison, Belmont, Muskingum, and Guernsey counties attended the informal discussion, saying there has been significant benefits to the area, benefits to private landowners, for businesses, for school districts. Monroe County Commissioner Diane Burkhart says that schools have received nice checks from the gas industry, so they've been able to do some improvement there. Monroe County's commissioner says the county has been able to fund its road improvements due to the industry. So their argument is that there is a significant benefit that the fracking industry has brought to their areas.
To which my response is, yes, it's true, and the report did not cover things like tax revenues that you mentioned going in, nor did it cover the specific contributions that you're talking about to schools and other public places and public goods. Having said that, and at the risk of being a little politically incorrect, I will invoke the image, the metaphor of the beads for the island of Manhattan. For the few $1 million that we're talking about may have been invested or contributed toward schools and other public goods, you have to offset that against, again, what the projections were for the economy, in which case we're talking about not just billions of dollars of economic activity and tax revenue, we're talking about a prediction of tens of billions of dollars. And the contributions that you're talking about right now, yes, they're wonderful and they're good, and I'm very glad that they're happening, and we all should be, but they're a pittance compared to what was supposed to happen. And that's why that even with those contributions, even with, and we can talk about the royalty payments, but even with those being taken into account, again, it's a minute fraction of what we were told would happen. And that's why, again, as you drive through downtown Wheeling or downtown Bel Air, you do not see the economic revival that was talked about when people were calling this an economic game changer. It wasn't just a question. We weren't just told that the industry is going to come hire a bunch of people. They were told that it would be a game changer for the economy as a whole. And that's what has not manifested itself. And so, yes, I respect and I understand that folks are grateful for new schools and other facilities, and those are good things. But again, proportionally, it simply doesn't matter that much from an economic perspective.
Yeah, I think the key here is and I certainly don't disagree that the natural gas industry has tried to support school systems. They've given money to music programs and so on and so forth. But those tend to be one-time contributions or a gift of money, as opposed to a structural change that goes on into the future where we all benefit, not just today because they gave some money for a new music program, but for ever because the whole economy has changed. And I think that's the difference. And I think the natural gas industry, I suspect, coming into this, the fracking industry knew that one way they could buy public support was by literally making some pretty big grants and gifts.
Mm-hmm. And you just, I think, said the magic word, Howard, and that is structural. Yeah, these are one-off events that you're talking about, isolated. And the problem is, and this is what we're seeing in the numbers, and going forward, we're going to be doing further research to document and quantify, and that is the reasons that the investment in natural gas and that the immense production and sales of natural gas, the reasons that the money associated with that, or more of the money associated with that, has not landed in the local economy, landed in the valley, are actually identifiable. Because, the great mystery, I suppose, in all of this is, a lot of money was invested, a lot of gas was produced, and a lot of gas was sold. That's why the GDP number is so big. The question is, why didn't more of that money land in the valley? And as we've gone through the exercise of doing the report, we've been able to identify literally a dozen different factors that caused money to be drawn away from the valley and simply to land in other places. And that's why the economic growth is so incredibly hollow. And could I also comment on one other thing coming out of the meeting in Hannibal that you talked about the other night? Mm-hmm. One of the points that was made in an effort to counter the report was they pointed out that the unemployment rate in eastern Ohio, and they were talking about primarily Belmont and Monroe County in particular, has gone down over the period of the fracking boom from being in the low double digits all the way down to about 5% today. And they said, how can the unemployment rate be going down if we're not creating jobs? Well, I'll tell you, there are two ways to drive down your unemployment rate. One way is to add jobs. That's the good way. But the other way to do it is to reduce the denominator, reduce the number of people in your workforce. In other words, lose workers. And the reason that the unemployment rate has gone down in Belmont and Monroe counties is not because they've added workers or added jobs. It's because the counties are losing workers even faster than they're losing jobs. And it's addition by subtraction. And it is the worst scenario. It would be better to have a rising unemployment rate than to be in a situation where you are simultaneously losing jobs and workers from your talent pool. Because when you start degrading your talent pool, you make it even harder to turn the economy around and start growing again. And so that is unfortunately the way in which the industry is spinning statistics to try to put a positive spin on a situation that's deeply, deeply negative.
Sean, I want to shift gears just a tiny bit and talk not just about the fracking industry, but about the proposed cracker plant, which we continually hear about here and which is seen as the economic panacea for the Upper Ohio Valley. A WVU, Wheeling Chamber of Commerce study a number of months back cited, I think it was the WVU study, that cited it as the only economic positive thing on the horizon. In other words, if we don't get the cracker plant, we have nothing else to work towards, which is a frightening thought. And yet, signs continue, to me at least, to be that cracker plant is just not going to come to fruition. Now, they haven't said that yet. In fact, they specifically said this week, PTG said this week, that they're still working on looking for a new partner and so on. But my strong sense is that plant is not moving forward. I mean, is that the feeling you get? I know you study this a lot better than I do.
I mean, I'm on record with this, Howard. I've said, and I'm still there, that I think there's no better than a 20% chance that the plant gets built. And that's because there are significant economic forces working against it. Primarily, that there's been a huge build-out over the last couple of years in ethane cracker capacity along the Gulf Coast. And right now, we're in a state of massive overcapacity. And when I say massive, even before the onset of the coronavirus and the disruptions in the economy, we were in a situation where those plants had gone from operating at in excess of 90% of capacity to the high 70s. And that was before the onset of the coronavirus, which jumbled everything up. And so, as I said, there are significant market forces working against the cracker at this point. But the other point that I would emphasize is that, just as I said a moment ago, that there are structural reasons why the fracking industry has failed to deliver on the promise of jobs and prosperity. Unfortunately, there are also structural reasons why, even if the cracker were built, that it would similarly fail to generate a lot of downstream economic activity and jobs that folks are hoping for.
So it's not coming in your mind, but even if it does come, it falls into the same category as the report you've just issued, which is it will not have a gigantic impact on jobs and the economy in general.
Yeah, and perhaps in some other conversation we can even talk about why that is. Because again, this isn't just personal opinion or wish. I mean, these are economic factors that you can point to, that you can quantify, and say, you know, that there are very specific reasons why it's unlikely to have the kind of stimulative effect that folks are certainly hoping for.
Yeah. Sean, I appreciate your time this morning, the work that you guys do. I thank you for the study and thank you for your conversation today. We will revisit this with you or Ted or somebody else in the near future because I want to keep the conversation going.
Well, and Howard, I'd just like to invite anybody who's curious about the study and what it actually says, because as you, I'm sure, have noticed, some of the news reports in the Valley have kind of glossed over the study itself and gone right to the criticism from the Oil and Gas Association. But you can see the study and a summary of it at OhioRiverValleyInstitute.org. So thank you.
RiverValleyInstitute.org. Yep. Sounds good. All right, Sean, thank you very much. I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.
Take care, Howard. Bye-bye.
All right, have a good day. Sean O'Leary from Ohio Valley River Institute. They've done this study on Appalachia, the impact of the fracking industry here in the upper Ohio Valley. And again, it actually makes logical sense to me. The fracking industry has done a lot to give individual grants and money, and they fix some roads when they're on them and so on. But in terms of structurally changing our economy, their report at least says that's not the case. And my temptation is to think that's probably true. My feeling is that anecdotally we can talk about, yes, there are landowners that are getting nice royalty checks. And yes, there are people that were very poor that have become rich because of selling their gas rights. And yes, there have been school systems that have gotten some very nice money from the gas companies, and other ways the gas companies have helped out the community. I'm not suggesting they're evil, terrible people not helping out the community. But in terms of structurally changing our economy, I'm just not sure that we really have seen that. And I am really, really, I mean, you're going to have to go a long way to convince me that this cracker plant is going to come. I know they say that it's still on the drawing boards. I know they said just this week that they're working on a new partner. Their previous partner had dropped out. PTG now says they're working on a new partner. They've got a list of possible partners. They hope to make an announcement sometime soon. But Biff, how many times have we heard the phrase, we'll be making an announcement sometime soon?
Still waiting for that announcement.
I mean, you know, that's been literally years and years and years. Oh, probably by the end of this year. I think this coming summer. Any day now. I mean, it's just...
Oh, and then all of a sudden...
It never happens.
And all of a sudden, something pops up, something went wrong. Okay, so now we got to wait. But, hey, when we get this, we'll have an announcement for you.
Yep. Even if it gets, if somehow this whole thing gets resolved, then we're still years away from seeing this. And again, I go back to, and my memory is not as good as it used to be. Everybody knows that. I think it was a WVU study that said the cracker plant is the only thing we have on the economic horizon. The natural gas industry is the only thing that we have that is a possibility of saving the economy of the upper Ohio Valley. And that's a horrible thought. We've got to start looking at new and different things. But if we take our legislature to be an example, we ain't going to be looking at anything new and different. We're going to roll our way back to the dark ages. I will talk about the West Virginia legislature coming up after we check some news for you right now.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Now it's time for your local news.
Biff, you don't need to double up the spots here. I will take another spot break before the top of the hour. All right, because I don't want this to be so long. I will use probably the Capitol report in this segment.
For the following week. School officials say if they switch to full-time in-person, parents and students will see a domino effect for the already established system. In new details this morning, a 1-year-old boy and his mother are reunited following an alleged kidnapping in Columbus, Ohio last night. Authorities issued an Amber Alert around 5:15 on Tuesday. They say shots were fired and the child's mother was assaulted. Police recovered the boy around 11 p.m. and he appeared to be unharmed. And that was a look at your headlines. Have a great Wednesday, everyone.
The Mountaineers lead from the opening tip and knock off the Horned Frogs. Hi, everybody. I'm Tony Caridi. That story coming up on today's Mountaineer Report, brought to us by Kroger.
Did you know that 1 in 8 Americans Wildlife Fund to end food waste? But we can't do it alone, and we hope you'll join us in creating a world with zero hunger and zero waste.
His Big 12 best 11th double-double of the season and his 27th double-double of his career. West Virginia's other double-figure scorer, sophomore Deuce McBride, who finished up the night with 11 points and 5 assists. A big night as well for Fairmont freshman Jalen Bridges, who scored 9 points on 4 of 4 shooting from the floor. West Virginia wins it 74-66. Next up for the Mountaineers, it's going to be Kansas State on Saturday afternoon in Morgantown, because earlier in the day, West Virginia learned that its game against the Baylor Bears, scheduled for Thursday in Waco, has been canceled. The revised schedule for the Big 12 Conference and for West Virginia will see WVU close the regular season with 4 consecutive games at home. Kansas State on Saturday, Baylor in the Coliseum Tuesday, TCU on Thursday, and Oklahoma State a week from Saturday. That is today's Mountaineer Report, brought to us by Kroger, the official grocer of WVU Athletics. I'm Tony Caridi on the Mountaineer Sports Network from Learfield, IMG College.
Are you struggling to make payments due to an unexpected financial obligation or loss of income? Are you receiving calls from debt collectors? Are you feeling overwhelmed and unsure of what steps to take next? Then you need the experience and expertise of attorney Tom McIntyre and his staff to help guide you through these temporary hardships. Want to hear more about how Tom can help? Then call 877-456-4155 and receive a free copy of Tom's ebook, When Bad Things Happen to Good People. Tom's ebook covers many questions people have about bankruptcy and includes interesting stories about people who tried to avoid filing and people who have filed for bankruptcy. We think you'll be surprised to learn some interesting facts about bankruptcy. Call 877-456-4155.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
The members of Roofers Union Local 188 in Wheeling remind us, while we may consider it a right to receive blood when hospitalized, we must also consider the responsibility to donate blood to maintain the supply for the community. This message from all the great and caring folks, the members of Roofers Union Local 188 out of Wheeling, representing licensed, bonded, and insured roofers for all residential and commercial projects. That's Roofers Union Local 188 in Wheeling, wishing everyone a safe and healthy year.
Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim Robinson at the Highlands, home of lifetime powertrain protection. Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim Robinson at the Highlands, home of lifetime powertrain protection.
Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
The Storm Tracker 17 is here to warn you when winter weather will affect your day.
And as we go through the overnight after our coating of snow, we'll wake up tomorrow morning with a few snow flurries.
We are also here to help you make the most of the season. Is it a good day to build a snowman? Should you take the kids sledding? Check out our app before you head out the door.
We're going to bottom out to temperatures in the upper 20s.
With meteorologists Dr. Dave Walker, Zach Petty, and me, Aaron Myler, we've got weather coverage you can count on. 7 News, working for you.
CA House Music has all the gear to make your music legendary. With all the best gear, including Fender, Epiphone, Yamaha, and more, CA House will have you rocking in no time. Get the most for your money with everyday low prices. And we meet or beat internet pricing. Play before you buy and let our product specialists help you pick out the instrument that's right for you. CA House Music, supporting local musicians since 1872. Play music for life.
Are you or your loved ones facing a serious legal battle? The law office of Paul Harris wants you to know you aren't alone. Do you need someone that's not afraid to go to trial and fight for your rights? Attorney Paul Harris and his team are willing to go where most firms are not. The courtroom. With a successful track record in civil litigation, criminal defense, including tax issues and healthcare fraud, Harris Law Office will fight for their clients by offering the most aggressive representation in and out of court. Call Paul Harris at Harris Law Office for a free consultation. 304-232-5300.
Warwood. The Watchdog is protecting your yard. Join Howard Monroe, Hoppy Kercheval, Bill DeFabio, and Big Rick for the best live and local talk in the Upper Ohio Valley and beyond. Warwood trusts the Watchdog.
Miss a part of the show? Want to hear a segment again? Check out our podcast page at watchdognetwork.com. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
39 degrees now at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. 10-mile-an-hour winds makes it feel just like freezing outside right now. 39 at the airport, 39 at my home studios in Elm Grove, 39 at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. The most regressive, backward-looking, sad and depressing session of the West Virginia legislature I can ever remember. continues. The decision to roll legislation back, the decision to take us back to days that we wish we weren't going back to, I think has just been pathetic. The attempt to put all power in their own hands or in the hands of political entities instead of professional people is just disgusting, in my opinion. Here are some of the things the legislature has been doing up until now, in the last couple of days. The bill that was providing local health department, that took away local health department control, passed yesterday in the Senate, I think it was. And that's the bill that would say that local health departments, if they promulgate rules, regulations, like smoking regulations, that's where the big issue is, like smoking regulations, they would have to be approved by the elected officials, the county commissioners in most cases. And if it was a statewide issue, like the pandemic, the state health director would have to sign off. So we're taking the power away from public health officials and giving it to elected officials. One of the legislators, who is himself a county commissioner, said, you're turning power over to people like me, county commissioners, and our primary function is to make sure we get reelected, not to look out for the health and safety of the public. So taking the power away from the health departments is there. The Senate Education Committee yesterday approved the charter school bill, very similar to the House bill that has already been approved, expanding the number of charter schools, creating a new charter school oversight board, and so on. What's amazing is that even national charter school organizations are criticizing West Virginia's bill. The Gazette Mail takes a look at a couple of these. West Virginia's bill, for example, would allow one statewide virtual charter school that could enroll up to 10% of all current public school students in the state, plus a local virtual charter school in each of the 55 counties. A spokesperson for the National Association of Charter School Authorizers says that these online schools are an important option, but you're allowing too many people to get enrolled in them. And she says that what happens then is they become too big to fail. Too many people enrolled in a single charter school, and you can't withdraw the charter because you get too many people involved in that. This is from the National Charter School Group. Another thing that's got the National Charter School Group's concerned, this year's bill eliminated the previous charter school law that gave the authorizers, the county school board in most cases, the ability to quickly close a charter school if it did not meet fiscal management standards or performance standards. In other words, if it wasn't doing its job, the authorizer could shut them down. But the bill this year eliminated that. They don't have that ability anymore. The National Alliance of Public Charter Schools says that would mean, quote, undermining the law's commitment to accountability. Because there's no way to be accountable there. The National Center for Special Education in Charter Schools has raised concerns with a part of the bill that says a virtual charter school, our law says a virtual charter school cannot enroll a special ed student unless the student and parent first meet with the student's IEP team and discuss whether enrollment in the virtual public charter school is appropriate placement. The National Center for Special Ed in Charter Schools says that's illegal. It's not a bad idea, it's illegal. My point is, once again, rushing these things through, even the groups that support charter schools in the country are saying, this isn't right. You guys aren't doing it right. You guys aren't stopping to think about it. And we saw that happen in the House, where they expanded the eligibility so much that the costs began to balloon beyond what they expected. They had to call it back and say, oh, we better take a look at this again because we thought 20 million and now we're up to 100 million or so. In the continuing effort by the legislature to control all things at the state level, this from the party that supposedly believes in local control, the House yesterday approved a bill that would prohibit city or county governments from banning public straws, food, or drink containers. You know that's been happening in other parts of the country. Certain cities have said we're not going to have plastic straws anymore. The House has now approved a bill that would prevent the cities from doing that. What happened to the idea of giving more control to local control? It's not going to happen, at least not under this provision. Passed the House, so it has to go to the Senate. Of course, the legislature is taking away the power of the emergency powers of governor, not taking away, but putting some restrictions on the emergency powers of Governor Justice. The governor is not happy with that, I got to tell you. For future governors, I would hope and pray we don't strip away their powers. From the standpoint of getting 500 different opinions on something, you'll have a real mess. The legislature says we ought to have a role. We're the elected representatives of the people. Our job is to oversee the budget, really. Governor, you spent $1.25 billion. Well, you didn't spend it. You're holding some of it. But you received $1.25 billion in federal CARES money. And we, the legislature, had nothing to say, but we had no input into it. So we're going to set some guidelines for you. And the governor is just really, really, really unhappy about that. One of the people that that has been strong in suggesting the governor has too much power has been Pat McGeehan here from
Does your dog need groomed or walked? Are you looking for a pet sitter or dog boarding off?
Then.
(04-639-7754).
This guy knows so much about sports. They based the Sports Almanac from Back to the Future off of his dream journal. He's Bill DeFabio, weekdays noon to 2, on the Valley's only network dedicated to live and local talk radio, The Watchdog.
From the West Virginia Broadcasting Hall of Fame, directly to you. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe, brought to you in part by Wheeling Hospital.
Did we lose connection, Becky?
Yeah, we did.
Oh. I thought you get tired of my rant.
No, I'm sitting in here. Fuzz is sitting in the other room, and we're listening. And all of a sudden, it went out, and Fuzz is looking at me with his hands up in the air. I got my hands up in the air, and we waited a couple seconds, and it was like,
it was a good rant too. It was a good rant. It was a good rant. You know what? I think the legislature probably is controlling my internet connection here.
You never know.
They didn't want me to rant anymore about this subject. They didn't want me to rant anymore on this subject. There are a couple of other issues I wanted to get into. I may hold them till tomorrow on the legislature. There's a bill that forbid displays of sexuality in public schools and forbid teachers from teaching sexuality. And what I don't understand is what the hell that means. We'll have to get into that at some other point. And there's another bill that's been introduced to prohibit the teaching of divisive issues in the school systems. And that means they're not supposed to talk about racism or sexism. Those are divisive issues. Yes, they are. And they're issues that people ought to be talking about. I'm going to hold that and get to it coming up a little bit later on tomorrow. Biffy, did we take care of business then? Or we still have to do a break here?
No, we're good.
All right. Let's get the Capitol report in. You've heard my ranting. Let's see what Jeff Jenkins and the Metro News team have to say about what's going on in the Capitol right now.
This is the Metro News Capitol Report, brought to you by AARP West Virginia, your ally for real possibilities in the Mountain State. Today's report in 60 seconds. AARP.
sure there's an agreed-to effort by the leadership in the House of Delegates and State Senate to get certain priorities from both sides all the way across the finish line in almost record pace. Take yesterday, for example. The State Senate Education Committee worked the charter schools bill that the House passed last week, while the House Judiciary Committee considered and approved the COVID-19 immunity bill already passed by the Senate. It's possible those bills and other legislation facing only a single reference to a committee on the other side could be up for final passage in just a matter of days. Judiciary Committee member, Capitol County Democratic Delegate Chad Lovejoy had that feeling during Tuesday's meeting on the immunity bill after he had 3 proposed amendments rejected.
I just can't fathom a legal system that says you are immune for intending to hurt someone. I don't get that. So I think it's too broad. We tried to fix it, and for whatever reason, that failed. The other problem I have is we've got an open-ended date here. This thing could go on as long as the state of emergency does.
Governor Jim Justice has scheduled another virtual town hall meeting on his plan to cut in half the state's personal income tax. This one he'll hold at night, beginning at 7 tonight, instead of in the middle of the afternoon like the one he held on Monday. I'm Jeff Jenkins on Metro News, the voice of West Virginia.
So the virtual town meeting will be this evening tomorrow evening. And will he have any details of this income tax reduction plan, or will it be as it was earlier this week? Well, I want to reduce the income tax, and we're going to raise some taxes and make some changes, and it'll all be good. Rainbows will be coming. Will we hear any details? Has he done any kind of analysis? Do we have any fiscal information? How much are you going to raise your taxes? He talked about a sales tax increase earlier this week that could be anywhere, he said, from 1.5% to 1.9%. What's the number going to be? How much revenue is it going to bring in? How much revenue is it going to lose in places like Wheeling, where we can go across the river and shop in St. Clairsville? Where are the numbers on that? How about the so-called wealth or luxury tax? What items are we going to tax? How much is that going to bring in? What about tiering the extraction industry's tax rates? If they make more, they pay more. If they make less, they pay less. How are we going to do that? What are the rates going to be? And what is your projection of how much money is going to come in or be lost if they go down? Where are the numbers behind all of this? And you say $25 million in cuts. Well, there'll be small cuts. They won't be bad. Well, what are they going to be? What are the details? I don't know. Maybe by tomorrow night he'll have some. I don't know. I can't help but think even his Republican colleagues in the legislature are going, Governor, give me something. What's the idea here? But then again, the way things are going, maybe they don't need ideas. Maybe they don't need numbers. Maybe they don't need details. They just need to do it. We're going to do it because we can. That's what's happening in the legislature right now. Never have I seen anything like what's happening down there. Never. And the short answer why they do it, because they can. The legislative watchdogs may continue this conversation. I don't know if they're as angry about this stuff as I am, but we'll see. They're coming up next year on the Watchdog. And then Hoppy Kirchhoff's in at 10. As for me, go to Laura Wheeling, Creeks Don't Rise. Bat phone doesn't ring. And Teddy says it's okay. You can go back to work tomorrow, Granddad. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock, and they go around the big gig. Are you back with me, Biff?
I'm back for a Thursday.
We'll keep on doing it until we get it right, or until they cut me off with bad connections to the legislature.
That could be a long time.
Indeed.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
On his surgery and his condition and what comes next.
What it will mean long term.
All right, Biffy. I was doing so good on my rant there. Jeez. I wasn't looking at the phone because I was so busy ranting. It changes color when when I lose connection, it goes from green to yellow on my phone, but I didn't pay any attention, so. Oh, well. All right. I don't know what's coming up tomorrow. I'm not sure I have anything scheduled. I guess I'll have to work on that. I will be in this afternoon, today for the meeting, because I have some stuff I need to do in the studio for a change, so I will see you in a little bit. But if I don't, if you have everything you need me for, you know what to do, just give me a call. All right. Appreciate your help, as always. Thanks a lot. Talk to you later. Bye.
Testify that additional resources will be needed. Aaron Katersky, ABC News, New York.
President Biden will meet today with lawmakers of both parties trying to sell them on his nearly $2 trillion COVID relief package. The charges filed against Rochester police officers involved in the death of Daniel Prude, a mentally ill man who was restrained during an incident last year. Jim Nobles represents the cops.
This is a very difficult and stressful job where these cops are working the overnight shift in a very violent part of the city of Rochester. And, did they do everything perfectly? I don't know. Do they wish they'd done something different? Maybe. But they certainly didn't break the law.
There were protests against the decision last night